Shelyn Lee. You're finally here.
Oh, Jerry.
You are a busy lady.
I am. So are you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well,
Finally.
that's what life is about, isn't it?
It is.
Getting as much done as possible.
Well, if you enjoy what you do, it doesn't, it's not a bad thing.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I'm sure you've been told this. It's, oh, you're lucky. You work for yourself. And I always tell them, hey, I work half days. Yeah, you see what I'm talking about? We have to work 8 hours, like 12 hours a day, 7 days a week, and you're on call afterwards.
Absolutely. It's funny how I find myself, I remember my father when he would be up at 5:30 and start calling me at 6. And at the time I was married and had 3 kids. And I'm going, I'm trying to get people ready for school and, lunch is made and, and he's wanting to talk. And I'm thinking, why does he get up so early? And now I find myself getting up at 4 o'clock and it's nice. It's peaceful. I can get a lot of work done, and then I'm at the office by 9.
So you get up at 4 in the morning.
I get up between 4 and 5 in the morning.
And that's your peaceful time.
That's my peaceful time. Sometimes I get up and paint. I might cook. I might get on my laptop and start, searching properties for people.
Right.
So, that's kind of my...
You're on call 24 because I'm a
You
late
are.
person. You know that.
Right.
You can call me any time of the day, but don't call me in the morning.
I'm always careful when I call you. Is it noon? I wait till noon before I call you. But I also know you're up late too. And I'm up late, so I could call you when it's
at 4
late,
in the morning. I'm
which
up.
is great. Yeah.
Yeah. But I find the
Text it.
Yeah. You can, we can text at 4 in the morning.
Yeah.
My accountant's the same way. She gets up around 3:30 or 4.
Yeah.
So we have a conversation at like 4:30 in the morning. She's like, "You're getting ready to go to bed." I said, "Well, another 2 hours."
Yeah.
And when the sun's coming up, I hit the bed.
I know.
But-
I just, it's time you lose. I mean, I don't look at it as I'm losing sleep. It's just if I'm busy enjoying what I'm doing.
Well, you can
I'll
become
catch up on the sleep.
You can become very focused.
Yeah.
When there's no phone calls coming in, and you're not, and it's nothing wrong with phone, but when there's no phone calls coming in, it's like if I'm editing,
yes,
or doing something like it,
right.
I get into it so much, and I can get so much more done.
Yeah.
Because there's no outside interference.
And since the internet and I mean California, now it's like people texting. There's no boundary. It used to be, well, I don't call anybody during dinner time at 6 o'clock, and now you have people on the West Coast texting you at when it's convenient for them,
right?
And you got to answer them back because sometimes if you wait till the next day, they've already contacted somebody else. So it's a constant, like you said, just like your work.
Yeah,
it's a constant 24-hour kind of thing until you just shut it off and say, I'm taking time off.
You have to at a certain point, or your body will pay a price.
Well, it's good, like you. I mean, some of your trips to Switzerland and things like that. I mean, I've always enjoyed the things you came back with.
Yes.
Because you come back with things that you don't see here, or just cool things that you want to implement in the area you live in.
The real estate over there is, and you own your own company, which we're going to get to in a minute. Resourceful Realty.
Yes.
You've been in. I'll get to that in a second, but you're talking about Europe. You just came back.
Yes.
The homes are much different there. People live in homes that are 400, 500, 600 years old, and the stones are 4 foot thick. They build differently over there too, especially Switzerland and Lower Germany and Austria. Building codes are extremely different. They build there for 400 years. We build here for 40.
Yes.
And there is a difference, and you can see it in the craftsmanship, the workmanship.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
So it's
very
different.
In the Canary Islands, and one of them are a volcanic island, and all the homes there are white with green roofs. I mean, it's amazing to look at it because you don't really see grass growing anywhere. And then you'll go to the other Canary Island, and those, you see buildings that have been there for thousands of years, and then they're still standing, and they're solid. They're not going anywhere. It is. It's a good thing to travel to see how other people live and the way things are built. You were a contractor, a builder.
Yeah.
Very good one at that.
Well, thank you.
That's hard to find anymore.
That's why I quit.
Yeah.
Well, for special things, for special people or whatever, I'll still jump in there, or doing our own stuff like the studio.
Right.
That's been a over 4 years project that Heather and I think we've logged about 10,000 well, let me think. About 10,000 hours each. That's in construction work. It's a massive project. We're going to do a thing on YouTube and show the build out of it over a series of how it happened. And we're still not quite done yet, but we're in building 1 now. So
that's great. I know, it's awesome. And I've enjoyed watching you redo the auto parts store.
Yes.
Downtown, more on Main Street on Loris. I mean, how they built back then, and then how you've just taken it right down to the ground and rebuilding. I mean, it's amazing.
Leave the old and put new guts in it, which I mean, the guts is like the plumbing, the electric. Most of the time, it doesn't need to be restabilized. It was built so well, but sometimes add a few extra hurricane clips or whatever. Yeah. But putting all new infrastructure in, communication line,
so
cable, electric.
Good.
So we go under the ground 4 or 5. Well, you came in, I think one time we had 4-foot trenches dug. All the floors are gone and 4-foot trenches down in the hole. And Heather and I are walking around with broken ankles from stumbling all the time on the pipe.
I just couldn't believe, It's
I always thought when I went in Europe and I would come back and it's like they actually had, quote unquote, the green stuff down 600 years ago because those homes are still being lived in. Okay. Never been torn down, never went to a landfill. They're still being utilized. And the quote unquote green industry here, they'll be tearing those homes down in 60 to 80 years.
Yeah. Oh, well,
so all going to the landfill and redoing. So what is really more green? 4 foot of concrete, 4 foot of stone. It's there for 1,000 years or more.
Oh, absolutely.
And
I mean, the craftsmanship was there. It's hard to get now. Everything's fast paced. Get it done. Get it built in 30 days, 60 days, a year.
Right.
It's like, it used to not be like that.
Have you been to Paris?
I have not been. I've flown in and out of Paris. I haven't been to Paris.
Unbelievable beauty. I mean, it's just, if you're into architecture and you're into art and you're into beauty, it's jaw-dropping. Every corner you turn, you can't believe it's built because there's really nothing in the United States that matches the average building there. And in quality, you can't put another cherub on, you can't put another carving on out of stone in these buildings. Unbelievable workmanship. Some cathedrals took 200, 150 years to build and 10,000 men. We don't invest that kind of resource anymore.
No.
It's quick, it's a facade, it's fake, and it's torn down. You go to Strasbourg, the Strasbourg Cathedral, when I was working at the EU. So I was staying in Strasbourg, and I was with some MEPs, the members of parliament. They said, you want to see a cathedral? Yeah, because they're everywhere over there, right? Mm-hmm. I go around the corner to this town square, 460-some feet high, built 700 years ago. Jeez. Spires that are 12 inches that elevate 90 feet. Stone. Remember, there was no steel.
Right.
No steel.
Solid
stone. No fasteners.
Yeah.
It hasn't moved a millimeter.
Isn't that amazing?
That's
amazing to me. I mean, it really is.
What I get out of it, which is sad, is I get out how far we've fallen. As a culture and a people, it's like we went from building these structures 700 years ago. We went from building this to building homes that fall apart in 30, 40, 50 years. And it's why we don't work with many people. I'm very, very perfection oriented. And if the concrete calls for 5 inches, it's getting 10, 12, and it's getting dual rebar. It's getting this. It's overbuilt, but that's okay because it lasts. It should last for hundreds of years, if not more. That to me is real green and environmentally sound. Because if you build something that's green, you got to tear it down, throw it in a landfill, and rebuild it in 60 years. There's nothing sound about that. And people don't really stop to think. Like the battery cars. Well, you got to dispose of these batteries when these cars go bad. You're throwing them in a landfill. You're going to be recycled. This, and that. Where you get the lithium from?
Oh, I know. It's a whole.
I think there's some promise in hydrogen. I really do.
Well, I think.
And electric's good to play with, but turning the whole grid over to it immediately, can't handle it.
It can't handle it. It cannot handle it. I mean, look how many stations they built. Very, very few with the $9 billion they had or whatever the amount was. But yeah, I mean, and then pushing the cars on everyone. I mean, it's just not sustainable for the average person. It's not.
It's I wanted to we're getting off
I
on,
know,
we can
yeah.
talk for hours,
But,
which we do on the phone.
Going
But back to you, who you are and where you came from. And we were talking before we had to check the sound, and the OCD kicked in. It's like, I better go check all the sound and make sure it's working. So it was going along so beautifully of how you got to Myrtle Beach. And you said you're the owner of Resourceful Realty. And you've been in real estate, we'll start again, since?
Since 1976, I moved to Nags Head, North Carolina. And I started working for Joe Lamb and Associates. He had a real estate company there, his wife and him. And I ran their rental department during the season and the summer there when families rented beach homes. So that was my first taste, and I got my North Carolina license there. Lived there for 4 years. And just, off season back then, it was desolate. There just was the local people, a few of us that lived there, and we really got to all know each other and supported each other in everything that we did. I mean, there was a surf shop there, Whalebone Junction. I mean, he would go skiing in the winter, and I would stay and watch his dog in his shop. And he had a retail store. We would just do things for each other back then. I worked 3 jobs there because it wasn't a real year-round salary. I worked as a bookkeeper during the day for one company, Joe Lamb, and even sometimes I'd go at 4 o'clock in the morning to the deep sea fishing boat, rent those out while they were going fishing. So it was a great time there. Now it's totally changed. I mean, it's just grown, and everybody vacations there, and the building that went on, and like everywhere else. But Jockey Ridge was great. I live right across the street, basically, from Jockey Ridge, which was phenomenal. That was a fun place back then.
So as I mentioned before, I've been around a lot of the world, some of the world, not all of it, but all the states. But one place that's on my bucket list to go that I have yet to go to, and I think I'm holding out on purpose just to keep it out there. You got to have that want. I want to go
6 hours from here. You could go in a day.
Right.
You need to go. Yeah.
To the Outer Banks. It's just, to me, it's such a cool thing. You go out 20, 30 miles out into the ocean. You're on a sandbar. Yep. And you're out there. It's complete freedom.
Out there. If you go all the way to the end of Hatteras, you're out there. I was just happened to be there 4 or 5 months ago, visiting a friend that had rented a house there. And actually, a storm had come up. I only got to stay there 2 days because we had to leave. The water was coming over the sand dunes onto the road, which meant you're not going to get, if you don't leave now, you're not going to get out of there. So, of course, we had to leave. But it's just, it's an awesome place. You see beautiful sand dunes and horses on the beach, and the sun going down and up, and
what was an average evening or day like? You said you worked.
You
watched this person's business. They gave you the keys. They let you go. There was a trust and a freedom back then. I think that we all missed in this country that was in a lot of areas at that time. It was. I remember my parents never locked the doors on their house.
Yeah, no.
The only time you locked them if a storm's coming.
I remember when we lived in Virginia Beach growing up, we didn't lock our doors because we were coming in and out. Parents didn't think to go get a separate key made for us.
Right.
That was an expense. Why would they do that?
And in real estate, I'm sure you came across old timers back then that they couldn't find their house key.
Yeah.
You had to get a new one.
It's true.
And cars. My first car, my first road car, I had a field car. I lived on a farm, so all of us kids had field cars. And what it was jalopy racing out in a field. So at 14, 15, we'd buy a car for $50 or $100, and we would destroy it, right? Racing it and paint some numbers on the side. But my first street legal car was a 62 Buick Electra. Didn't need a key to start it. You didn't need a key. It had there was
out.
Well, it was a little rib where the key went into, and you could just take and spin the rib. And if you wanted to lock it, you could, but
There's
didn't.
no need to.
I don't remember locking it. And that was in the early 80s. That's how much has changed.
Yeah.
But what was it? To me, there's something about the Outer Banks the mystery, the romantic mystery of it, you're out there by yourself or just with a few people. So I can't imagine living there in the 70s when we had this freedom that we had. On top of that, you're out there on this island where there's almost no one in the winter.
Oh yeah.
So it was your domain. It was your kingdom.
We would we would say, you bring the beer, I'll bring the food. We'd grill out, go to the beach. Just bonfire. We had a great time. I mean, it was a lot of fun.
So from there, you moved. You were renting real estate. So you had your real estate license.
I had it in North Carolina. I went.
What got you into real estate?
Basically, my grandfather actually, my great-grandfather was in real estate, had his own real estate company in Miami, Florida. So it's kind of been in the family in a sense. So when I got to Nags Head, I really enjoyed what I did. Went back to Virginia Beach, worked for a law firm there doing accounting for a while, Owen Pickett. And then came to Myrtle Beach with some friends to start a tourist guide magazine.
So you were one of the ones that started it?
Yep. Grand Strand Guide it was that back then, and it was sold. We sold it, and then after that I opened a children's for a store and had, got married, had kids, and then finally, when the kids got a little older, went back to the real estate in South Carolina. And I'm also hold a broker's license in Florida. I've done some work down there for Palm Beach area. So it's in my blood. I love it. I love meeting people. I love building, that's what the interest I have in how well you build, and travel and looking, different, how people live, different homes, lifestyles. So
well, you're rare in today's times because you can get a hold of you almost 24 hours a day. And I know because you get up very early in the morning.
I am up
like
early,
4 in the morning.
4 in the morning.
And you start looking up real estate, cooking and real estate listings.
It's my quiet time, so I can get up and search for what people are looking for, or do whatever, painting or cooking or whatever I feel like doing. It's quiet. So
you can get a lot done and focus.
I get a lot done, and I feel good when I leave to go to the office at 9 because I've already done a lot, I feel like. So now I can do, all the little things I need to catch up on, kind of thing. But it's the relationships you grow and get to know people that you just never know where it leads to, and that's exciting to me.
Well, you're in many ways since you're in Myrtle Beach, which is a big tourist destination on the East Coast, and a lot of people are now moving to the Carolina beaches and to the lower Carolinas from other parts of the United States, and I think they're coming for some of that freedom that I moved to Myrtle Beach in 84, still had it here.
I remember I met you. You had a pastry shop then.
Yes. Went to culinary school.
Very good pastry shop.
Thank you. I still make, you get some of the supplies. And
yes.
in fact, Heather makes the...
she makes an awesome
the lemon cake.
Oh my gosh.
It's
delicious.
Yeah, every time I'm at Sam's, how you tell a good lemon, you got to scratch it on the outside and then smell it. And it should smell sweet like lemon sugar.
Like a lemon.
Like lemon sugar. If it's not sweet, it's not from California. Or it wasn't grown. California lemons are the best in the world. Sorry, Italy, but they are. They're the best in the world. And you know when it's a California lemon. And now I've got Heather doing the same thing. She goes in. And people are like, what are you doing? It's like, well, because it matters.
Yeah, it does. Hey, listen, at the prices they are today, absolutely.
Yeah, and
you better know what you're picking.
Your product is no better than the fruit like if you want to make a pie.
Right.
You can have the best crust in the world, but if your fruit is not quality, the pie is going to suck.
That's right.
And so you have to have that good fruit to start with. You have to have the good lemons to make the good lemon cake. Right. And so how you pick your lemons, you scratch them and sniff them. They should smell like lemon sugar. And always look, USA, and you'll know a California lemon because the Florida lemons never smell like that. Sorry, Florida too, but that's the way it is.
Yeah, it's like the way you pick professionals that you want to work for you. Whether it's a plumber or a electrician, a realtor, film director.
You pick someone who's passionate about it.
Well, yeah, and qualified. I mean, and has the passion, and enjoys what they do.
Well, there's a lot of Carolina isn't it one of the hottest spots to move to right now?
Oh my gosh! Since COVID, during COVID, we were having people sight unseen, but call, put in an offer, buy. They didn't. That was it. They were getting out of, some of these areas across the United States that they just didn't want to be in anymore. COVID changed a lot. People didn't have to work from their office. They could work anywhere. So it gave a lot of opportunity at the same time for people and made it easier, I think, in some sense, for them to make decisions quicker. And they weren't worried. They were just buying here, and then they would just see how they liked it. And if they didn't, they'd sell it. But I could say, I don't think I sold anybody that ended up moving here during that time that ended up not liking it. It's funny, it just reminded me of a couple I sold from California, really neat family, and right on the waterway they bought. They wanted a house on the waterway, and kids love it, wife loved it, and the husband was like, I don't know, I hear the planes, I hear the planes sometime flying off, but he can't move. The whole family loves the house. And I mean, it's just, but it's just a different atmosphere that sometimes it's too quiet for them because they're not used to it. And other times,
did they end up buying it?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Are they is
they're
he
very
happy?
Very happy. Yeah. And they've referred people to me as well. So,
there's a lot of people from California.
But there's
moving.
a lot of people from California, up north, New Jersey, New York, Connecticut.
And they've got to be
Ohio.
shocked at if you buy in Myrtle Beach proper, in the city limits. There's a big hidden secret here. We'll let it out. It's called property tax.
Oh, yes, property tax.
So we have the A tax, where it's an additional 1.5%.
Yes.
And it's for hotel rooms, restaurants, and part of that money goes to advertise for the city.
Right.
And part of that money, I guess, the to sell it to the people that are here that had to vote on it, a property tax reduction.
Yes.
So now, if you're coming from California, you're thinking, $500,000 to $700,000 house. What must be a shanty out back of another house? But here you can get a really decent house at this time for $500,000 to $750,000.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So you're talking within walking distance to the beach, short walking distance, like a couple minutes walking to a beautiful beach. Mm-hmm. And your property tax on that $500,000 house is going to be around, at this time, and this could change tomorrow, so this could be invalid by that time, but $2,000, $2,100, $2,200.
I'd say I just sold a house at $560,000, and it was basically $2,500 a year.
Right, and that was their
a
primary,
year, not a month. That's prime. That's primary. That's basically it's 4% times the millage, and that millage is changing right now. It's not drastically, but it is. So if you're a primary resident, then you're taxed at 4% times the millage. If it's a second home or an investment property, you're taxed at 6%.
Right.
So,
but still very reasonable for the rest compared to the rest of the country.
Compared to the rest of the country,
There's people from up in the Northeast that are paying bills on a $400,000, $500,000, $600,000 house of like $15,000 to $18,000 a year, and it's not that nice where they live. There's potholes in the roads, and it's deteriorating where this is evolving. It's growing.
Yeah, and I've talked to a lot of people that have moved from up north over the last couple of years here, and basically since 2005, 2007, when the market did end up crashing, their values on their homes, they couldn't get out of them. They have waited, this long to really, homes are selling up there to a younger generation, and they're moving here and retiring. Mm-hmm. Taxes are a lot less for them. Cost of living is a lot less for them. Again, it's a convenient location. It's easy to get on a plane in 2.5 hours. You're in New York, where they're from, or Miami, where they're from, or Florida. So the cost, that's what has been very attractive to a lot of people wanting to move here is property taxes. Our insurance has been low, even though we are on the coast, and hurricanes and winds or catastrophes do happen once in a while. But still, it's not out of the ballpark for people to be able to
Right.
afford what compared to what they've been used to.
Well, some of the things that are going on in Florida, the insurance,
Oh,
all the
yes.
insurance company, and there are
Yes.
insurance companies pulling out of California. So we're very fortunate now. I hope it maintains its course because Myrtle Beach has always been, I've lived in several different areas in the United States in my life, and it was always what you call easy to live here.
Yes.
It's easy to live in Myrtle Beach. It's reasonable. You have a lot of amenities. One of the things Heather and I was talking about last night, I've got family in Naples, Florida, out west. You drive 30 miles to get to a home improvement store, or 20 miles, and then you got to drive another 20 miles to get to a Costco or a Sam's or wherever, right? Here, if you're central Myrtle Beach, it's 5 minutes, 8 minutes. You're 8 to 10. You're 15 minutes from the airport. You're 10 minutes from Home Depot, Lowe's, Costco, Sam's, and all the roads are square. It's in a grid
North
pattern,
and south,
north and south, east and west.
Yes.
And it's just a very well laid out area, easy to get to, easy to get around, and our coast. Granted, California and Oregon's coastline is beautiful to look at. I mean, it's dramatic. It's like a cinematic movie, right? It's dramatic, and I do miss the weather. I miss the weather. This time of year is like death to me.
Humidity isn't like it is
No,
here.
it is not. But that's a double-edged sword. I'll take that compared to some of the things that are going on out there.
Oh yeah.
Politically and the way things are going and the expense. So when you can live easily, your life is better. Mm-hmm. You were mentioning up in when you lived in the Outer Banks. You were young, doing your thing. Probably didn't have a whole lot of cash in your pocket.
No.
But didn't you have a damn good time?
Oh my God, yeah. I
Wasn't it
built my first house in Exeter, North Carolina.
And
I was early 20s.
There's more to life than money.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, oh my God, we had jet skis. I mean, jet skis were just coming out then.
Right.
Fishing was great there. I mean, they had over in Conway, they had the Shakespeare play that they would put on in the summer. I mean, there was a lot of you can go sit on Jockey's Ridge at night. We used to do that at midnight and drink a bottle of wine. And nobody was there, no lights, no nothing. I mean, it was just,
And I think that is a draw to the Carolinas too, is that we're one of those last few places where, for the most part, compared to the rest of the country, it's reasonable to live. The coastline, what I was getting with the coastline out in California and that, it is beautiful, but you don't want to play in that water. It's cold. It's got kelp.
Oh, ours is like bath water.
Right now, I think it's 85 today. The ocean temperature is 85.
Like that, I mean,
it's beautiful.
One of the main attractions, I think, is we have something for every age to do. Mm-hmm. No matter what age you are. There's Brook Green Gardens. There's Atalaya. There's you've got the ocean. You got the waterway. You got the river. Mm-hmm. You've just got putt-putt golf.
Yes.
You got 1,200 restaurants here in Myrtle Beach. I mean, there's just a lot of things. Golf is major here, Yeah. Our weather's so good year-round.
To me, southern Florida, like the Miami region, to me, it's too hot. It's year-round,
it's hot and you have
humid,
a big rainy season.
And it's just, I want a little bit of cool, and we get that here.
Right. Oh,
we get a little bit of fall and a little bit of winter without it being snow-driven blizzards or anything like that. Yeah. 50s during the day, 30s, high 30s, 40s at night. We'll get down to that. That's comfortable to me. And so I don't want to live, in the interior of Alaska. But at the same token, I don't want to live in Naples. My family tried to get me to go down there a long time, so I just don't like. Well, you don't like Naples? Like, no, I don't. I'd rather live up in Myrtle Beach. I like it there better.
I like to visit.
Yeah, it's
other
fun
places.
to visit, and it is fun. And I always get it why people from like Ohio, Michigan, Pennsylvania come here in the winter. How they must feel coming out of the nasty snow,
all the Canadians. Salt. I mean, in the winter, the Canadians come and they stay 4 months here. They love to come stay at the hotel and rent rooms for 4 months because it's winter. Most of the tourists are not here, but they can come and stay very reasonable here.
It's cheaper for them to come here and stay than pay their utility bills to stay up there.
Yeah,
but you can always tell the Canadians in like March and February because they're in the ocean. The ocean water is like 60 some degrees. They're out in the ocean going, oh, this is so warm. It's like, no, this is cold.
But we're thankful for them.
Yeah.
I remember when I first moved here, and you did too. I mean, we only had a 6-month season here. In the winter, it was desolate.
Yep.
And
Can-Am days.
oh yeah.
And
days.
I'll tell you, when I had the patisserie and the bakery and the cafe, our busiest times of the year was, of course, Christmas, holiday season, running up because everybody's ordering their pastries for the Christmas and the breads and all this stuff, and Thanksgiving. But that aside, just being holidays, our busiest week of the year was Can-Am. That's more than summer.
Yeah.
The Canadians knew fine French pastries.
Well,
they knew what real custard was. They knew what real chocolate was. They knew what real whipped cream was. They knew what all these mousses. They knew the mousses that we made. I can tell this now. You made it with the real raw eggs like they do in France, and that's why it was so good. But they knew it, and the next year they came and they brought other people, and pretty soon it was so packed on Can-Am that we would do out of that little place 700 people in a day, in that little spec.
Oh, I know. I remember it was. I mean, we just didn't have anything else here like you did.
And
really didn't.
But they were great guests to have at Myrtle Beach.
Yeah.
And I've been hearing a lot about a change, and in the real estate industry, as far as the fees go, and I always considered it was usually for real estate with building and stuff. You 6% for residential, 10% for a bare ground or commercial. That was kind of, to me, was the standard rate. And then you would split that with a seller's, like say you listed the property. Resourceful Realty lists the property, and then say another realtor brings someone in and shows them the home, and that's their agent, and then you come together to sell the house. You're this listing agent, and then the seller's agent and the buyer's agent, and then you would all, in South Carolina, you would all decide, hey, there's going to be a 3% goes this way, 3% goes here, and that's the way it was. But I guess there's some confusion now because it's all changing.
Yes, there was some lawsuits that took place. South Carolina is a little, and there, every state has different real estate laws, and so there's some laws coming into effect that are going to change. There was never ever has been a set commission for real estate. It's just the norm, started maybe for real estate, for residential, like you just mentioned. The thing that is changing mainly is that we cannot, if you belong to an MLS system, like here, like Coastal Carolina Board of Realtors here, you cannot advertise the commission. If I'm a listing agent and I'm listing your house for sale, I cannot advertise the commission rate that you might be willing to pay agents to sell your home. I cannot publicly advertise that on our MLS system. It's just a, just like technology changes so fast. This is something new that's changing for the real estate industry that we've kind of always worked under in South Carolina because we have a buyer's agency. So in that agency, we always displayed and discussed what compensation would be made. And that was always negotiable between a buyer and the agent, the seller and the agent. So it's not really changing a whole lot for us in that aspect. You'll hear a lot of different things out there about it, and it changes every day. Every day, another part of that will change because as of August 17th is when it will be announced exactly how things should be. But it's basically you're going to sign a form that says this is what you either agree, or you might say I don't want to pay a commission to sell my house. So if we have a buyer, the buyer might have to pay a commission to the realtor to be able to do their work. We don't work for free, and I don't think a lot is it's educating the buyer and the seller about who will get paid to do what. And it's always negotiable down to the last minute. It just needs to be, everybody needs to disclose and have this open conversation, which we kind of always have to begin with. It's just, because of the lawsuit, they want the forms changed. The other thing that is changing basically is, and again, South Carolina has always had this, it's just a buyer's agency where you know what's going on. I'm going to show you a property, and you're kind of hiring me to show you property. You want me to show you property. Might be your price range you want to stay in. It might be the area you want to stay in. They're asking us to have this document signed prior to showing a home, or physically or virtually. So it could be, instead of, I would say before we would say, oh, could you sign this for us? We're agreeing on selling your home. It's going to take, let's have an agreement for 4 months, 6 months, because we're going to spend advertising to do it. It might take time. At least give us the time before, because we'll need that time basically from start to finish between somebody putting in an offer to going through the process of closing, which could be 60 days if they're financing it cash. It could be 30 days, whatever it might be. Well, now if I'm showing you a property virtually, it might be something we sign for one day that says, yes, you have hired me to come show you some property, and I'm going to do it virtually, and I'm going to do it for 10 houses. So for 2 days or whatever date. So it's all negotiable again. It's just, and our forms change. Oh my gosh, every 15 days, something will change. A sentence will change out of it, so it's just really letting the public know, because when you really get down to it, how many houses do you, as a family or a person, do you sell in your lifetime, or do you buy in a lifetime? So realtors sometimes forget that the average person does not know the process. Right. They're so used to doing it every day. So it's really, again, it comes down to relationships that you have with your buyer and sellers, and that you educate them and go over what the process is, what they expect out of you, what you expect out of them. And you get to know each other that well, so that you do want to work with each other and build that trust and that relationship. So it just goes back down to the basics, really, in my view, although there is law that we need to protect the public.
So in South Carolina, it's not going to change that much because it was already in place to where the agreement was already signed on paper, where in some states it isn't in the purview or the view of the buyer or seller that is the homeowner or home purchaser.
Right.
It was hidden, where here it wasn't.
Right.
And so it's not going to change a whole lot here in what you do. It's just in other areas. And so this is a federal mandate that's coming down, and then each state, will they have the ability to work and to adjust this law per state, or is this a federal?
No, because of the lawsuit that came down, and they came down pretty much on the large franchise companies to begin with, and it cost them millions and billions of dollars. They made a settlement, and the settlement was these were the changes that would be made. So as far as our state's concerned, and many, many others, will have to put this in play. So it's forms that will explain the commission, the buyer and seller's obligation to each other, and expectations on all aspects. So it's not a bad thing. It's just, it'll take time for people to get used to using them and doing them, and how to do it. Because some people, some realtors, and just like you're a buyer and you're coming to me and you don't know me, and I'm asking you to sign a form, and you go, well, I don't want to sign anything with you. I really don't know you yet. I'm just starting to have talk to you. And there was always that pushback with people because they didn't feel comfortable signing something, as I wouldn't either. Right. I don't know the legality of the form you're giving me. I don't want to just sign it. And I might want to go show my attorney before I even talk to you. I have to look at this form. So there was a fear of that. And I think this takes away the fear, because you're just saying for 1 day, for 2 hours, for 3 days, for a week, where I think you're being more open about everything. We're protecting the public. It's not just you're doing something without their knowledge.
Right. So it's a constantly evolving
contract. Yeah. Yes.
It just sounds like they've taken a few lessons from the film distribution business, which no one understands except for a few distributors.
Yeah.
Even the theater operators never understood I distributed film. They never
Right.
understood. It's a
How?
constantly evolving, floating contract that you can't explain to the average person. You either get it or you don't. And if you don't get it, I can't explain it. And when someone says, just explain it to me, I can't. Well, you can't or you won't. I won't because I can't. Because if you don't get it, it's a floating, evolving contract that's
Yeah.
continually fluid.
Yes.
But so in this, do you think that it adds to the confusion, or does it clear away the confusion because it makes it more transparent?
I think it makes it more transparent. I think the confusion is coming. The realtors are more confused because how do you approach it? You know what I mean? We're so used to doing things like we have been for so long that all of a sudden this is, it's. So let's say this example. I've got your house for sale, and somebody's calling and they want to look at the house. Another realtor's calling me saying, I have a buyer for your seller's home. What's the commission they're going to offer? Because they don't know. I've got a person coming in to look at 10 homes from Connecticut. And I'm going to have to call those realtors to find out, are they offering a commission? Is their seller offering a commission? Or do I have to ask my buyer, will he pay a commission? Because I don't work for free. Who's going to pay me to do this? Well, that's time consuming. And most realtors are, to be honest, are going to want to do that before they do anything with somebody, because they can't just go around showing stuff and then not knowing if they're going to get paid or not. So it's just put another step into what we do. So
you're saying it's going to make it a little more confusing in that arena, or better, it's going to be transparent? Is it going to be on the books to where you can say, hey,
no, there are no books. This is why they cannot. There will be a compensation form that you can sign. Okay, I'm going to show this house and your seller has agreed to pay this, and maybe my seller's agreed to pay that. So now we're going to sign that. All parties are going to sign this form. So
it can
before we start, we know where we stand.
So now with the new law.
With the new
laws.
Where before, well, I work a lot off of referrals. Somebody bought a house 5 years from now. They referred a friend of theirs to me. Their friend referred somebody else to me. So they feel really comfortable because we know some of the same people. They've been recommended. So it's a little easier to work with people like that because they have a safety net that they feel that's there, a trust automatically. Where other people that are just calling off an ad that they saw you had on the internet, on Zillow or Homes.com or Realtor, whatever, they don't know who you are. So you're having to build something with them much quicker than you would a referral. And then you're asking them to sign all these documents without them really getting to know you for a time period. So it's going to be an adjustment, just like technology changes constantly. So it's just something we have to adapt to.
So it's going to be a teaching.
Yeah, and everybody will have their way. Everybody, all the realtors will, just like you have every realtor has a way that they sell or they do their business. They'll adapt to what the best way they feel comfortable doing this.
One of the reasons I'm glad to have you on here. I've known you for almost 40 years.
Yeah.
So close. I've never met a real estate agent like you. And that's west, east, north, wherever. I've never met someone like you that honest to a fault. Yeah, you'll work around the clock to make sure everything runs smoothly, and constantly trying to work on the best behalf of your client at all costs, even to your own health. And I've seen that. I've witnessed it. I've witnessed you take some bumps and bruises behind the scenes.
Oh yeah.
While trying to make things work and work smoothly for people. And I think you're one of the most knowledgeable people in real estate. And so I'm glad that you're able to tell people what is kind of going on from almost like a judge's eye, from or I always call it an alien's perspective. This is both sides. This is how it's going to work. But I've seen you work for people, and I want to get into this a little bit about when you're talking about a contract for a couple hours and how real estate agents can be used, and then they just switch to someone else at the end, and everything's gone as far as the money you've spent, they've spent, whatever. But you've helped people along the way. I've heard you on the phone when I've just come in to say hello to you or Greg or something. Someone's coming here from another place, Ohio, or we get a lot of people from Ohio, Pennsylvania, New York, and all that, trying to help them settle, because there's a lot more to purchasing a piece of real estate and moving to an area than just purchasing the real estate.
Absolutely.
It's also getting involved in understanding what the community is, how it works, what community is best for you. Do you want an HOA? Do you want to stay away from HOAs? You know, I don't like HOAs. I don't like, you know, my life path number suits me directly. It's like, no, I want to have my own independence and everything, and I will keep my house up. But I don't want someone to tell me what color my door can be. I don't want them to tell me what kind of flowers I can plant or not plant or whatever. That always, it's kind of like the anti-American, but I understand why it's needed, because if you live in an area where someone starts to put cars up on blocks and everything else, it can destroy the neighborhood. So my dad was a builder.
Right.
And one of the key things, the best ground, if you're going to build, always look in the old money neighborhoods. The first affluent neighborhoods that were built in that region.
Oh, yeah.
Because they always took the best
solid.
ground.
Yeah.
They took the best, like in Myrtle Beach, Pine Lakes, they took the highest ground.
Oh, yeah.
32, 33 feet up off the floor. Even the Dunes, I think, is like, Dunes Club is 18 feet, 19 feet.
So
it was developed later.
Yeah.
But the best ground, and if you live in a neighborhood that's like that, the neighbors are going to keep their houses up. Yeah. Because it's a thing of resale value and everything. So I do understand the need for HOAs, and then I also understand that there's people out there that, like myself, that don't care for them.
One. Yeah.
I don't want one. And so I've heard you behind the scenes work for hours with people trying to figure out what their needs are, and then trying to place what their needs are to the best neighborhood, because there is a difference in communities. Feel, you know yourself here with just the feeling between, you have Pine Lakes, the Dunes Club, and Briarcliff. Those are three major neighborhoods, right? And they're all different.
They're all different, yeah.
They have a very different feel, a very different way, and they all suit certain people. And so it's important when you're coming into a place not to end up in the wrong neighborhood. And when I say wrong neighborhood, I don't mean the wrong neighborhood, but the wrong neighborhood for them. If you want a boat, if you want to have a skiff, okay, but you want to live in a nice neighborhood, you go into Pine Lakes, because you can pull it up beside your house. Right. But if you go to Plantation Point, I don't know if you can there or not. They got an HOA.
They have a voluntary HOA. But it's getting back to know your client, your buyer or your seller, because it's not racial or anything like that. No. I mean, my sister just bought a house. She has an RV. He has a truck. They can't live in a
certain HOA
because they don't allow that. But they also wanted to be,
protected.
They want to be close to the beach. Or there's people that are avid golfers and they want to be on a golf course. So you show them neighborhoods that are golf courses. So you have to dig into deep, and it's not just they want to buy a house and how much they want to buy it for. How many children do they have? Do they have animals? Do they want a big yard? Do they want a small yard? There's so many things involved. And it is very time consuming, and most people don't realize that. They really don't. They think, I want to look at a couple of houses. Well, I don't want to go show you houses unless I know exactly. I don't want to waste your time. You don't want to waste my time. And we want the right thing for you. So it takes a little time to learn what you want. When people today, they're looking online before they even come here.
Right.
And they think they want to know, well, it might get here. And I go, that's in a flood zone. If that doesn't bother you, that's fine. But I want to disclose that to you, because I don't want you to be in a flood zone and you get flooded and then you come to me and go, why did you sell me this house? What I know, I have to let you know. I'm going to be upfront. I'm going to help you be knowledgeable in the area where you're moving to. I see people move here and open businesses, and I'm thinking, what in the heck did they open that there for? I mean, you
have to have boots.
To know.
You got to have boots on the ground.
Yes,
it's like in any type of when you're securing information. You work for the agency or whatever. You want boots on the ground to get the real intel. So you want someone who's been here, who knows the area, knows it can save you hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars down the road. But one of the things I wanted to say about you too is you don't disappear when the sale's done.
Oh no.
I've seen you, and I've seen you get hurt before too.
Yeah.
Where because you actually care about the people, and when the sale's done, you don't disappear. You show up you send a card at credit. You stop by. You say hello. Mm-hmm. You build relationships.
Yeah. And
your business is, to me, you're a relationship builder because you build long-standing relationships with people for many years, and that's what sets you apart from the others who, once the sale's done, that check's cut, they're gone, they disappear, and it's so rare. And so I'm so glad to have you on talking about these things because I know I'm getting the straight goods on.
It's connecting people with other people. To me, it's just I get so much out of, a lot, and we have so many talented people that are moving here, that and we do have a lot of retirees that move here. Well, these retirees, they've been. Their whole life they've worked for major companies. They were CEOs. They own, or else, they've got so much to offer, and to connect them with other people in our area, whether it be children in school that need a speech therapist, and she happens to be, retired for, did it for 42 years. You can hook people up with other people and watch what happens. It's amazing.
When you get the right people.
That's when you build a community.
When you get the right people together?
Yeah.
Look, I take it back. Of course, this is a major event. The founding of this country could have never happened if you didn't have the right people in place. If there was only one or two of them that felt that way, that they're going to risk it all, and tell the king to go, F you, king, come get it, and they did, it would have never happened. The experiment of the United States would have never happened. When you seen me get a big smile when you're talking about retirees that come from big industries, they've had businesses.
Yeah.
Oh, do I have plans? If I was the dictator, do I have plans for them? And they're not going to be useless. They're not going to drift off into oblivion.
No,
they're going to help other people start businesses. They're going to be involved. The worst thing that can happen, and you probably see this because a lot of retirees move here, the worst thing that can happen to a person who is a working person. I think like the working breeds of dogs, like a German Shepherd, a Border Collie. The worst thing to do to a Border Collie, a German Shepherd, is try to turn them into a lap dog. They'll become destructive.
Yeah.
It's not what they have to have purpose. That German Shepherd has to have something to protect. The Border Collie has to have something to herd. People who were of the working class of dog, like with people, like they've built industries, they've built things. They can't retire and just stop. I've seen so many of them pass away within a year or two. You don't want to be useless. You want to be useful. You want to be needed. And there is so much need for their knowledge to come in and help people start out with do businesses, to come together, to create foundations, to help people get into business. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But you're absolutely right. And there's a wealth of knowledge pouring in here.
Oh, there
and the knowledge is we're the beneficiary, and where they're leaving is they're losing it. We're gaining it.
Yeah.
So the knowledge of these, and if you get the right people together, it only takes a small group of people to do miraculous things.
And they're willing to do it. It's just they don't know who to call. They don't know who to. You've got. And if I'm in a great position where I can, and same as you, that we can hook them up with other people that
they can all come down here and get into making the movies.
Wait,
right?
Yeah, hey, why not? You never know.
But call Shelyn. That's who you call. When you come here and you've got a lot of knowledge and you don't want to just sit on the porch and drink tea, call Shelyn. She'll hook you up. She's the...
and I learn from them as well. My goodness, I learned so much from these people and make them my friends. And I don't want to let them go.
No.
I don't. I want to know them. I want to know what they're doing, what their accomplishments have been since they've moved here.
Right.
And
that's what builds a new
community. And that they're happy in the home they bought or where they're living so. So
you get a wide variety of people moving here and with different wants.
Absolutely.
Are people wanting to move as close to the beach as they can get, or does that scare them with the?
No, I don't. It used to be more that way,
Yeah.
but now you've got to realize there are people coming from major cities that are so used to driving a distance to get to where they want to go. So Loris or Longs or 40 minutes from the beach is nothing for them. They think that's great. It's only 40 minutes. We just got spoiled being here before the people started moving here, that anywhere we wanted to go, it was, a short distance. But we think about it as, we live across the street from the beach. But, being in Loris is only 40 minutes from the beach.
Yeah.
And that's not a long time to people that are used to driving 2 hours to work.
Right.
In a city. So it's growing. Our city has been growing out to other cities, but still all connected, whether it be Charlotte or Georgetown, growing into each other.
The people that have lived in Myrtle Beach all their lives and haven't lived in larger cities don't realize that the commute that people do in large cities to and from work is an hour, 40 minutes to an hour standard. Like you said, Loris, if you take Red Bluff, I don't know how you you take Red Bluff and go to 22 and straight in, you're from Loris, you're 23 or 24 minutes. I know because we drive it, because that's where the studios are, is in Loris, and I live in Myrtle Beach. It's 28 minutes to my house from our studio. And driving the speed limit. So if you want to go just directly to the beach, like North Myrtle Beach is 22 minutes. That's nothing.
It's nothing.
That's half of their commute, what they used to do, and they go to the beach once a week. But you're living, and you're coming out here, you're getting more for your money land-wise.
You're getting more land, you're getting...
And you're helping to create a new community. It's like, I liken it to the sprawl that happened around D.C. Maryland used to be all farms, Virginia, farms, and now it's urban areas. It's the outside perimeter where the people are living that work inside D.C. So they become very affluent little neighborhoods, boutique neighborhoods.
Yeah.
And so the places that are here, that have been here for a long time, Loris, Aner, Longs, they have a unique possibility on their hands, if managed right, to create a community. You get to reinvent a community that's already built.
That's been here for many years, and rebuild those neighborhoods,
rebuild them, and make it into something like a boutique city.
Like Conway has done a great job of that.
Oh my,
Conway has done it's so much fun to go to Conway. The theater, the restaurants at night, just the little town is just quaint, and you just feel like you're kind of back in time in a sense. You
remember? Let's see, 25, 30 years ago, Conway was the county seat, so they always had that income coming in from that. Do you remember when it was dying?
Yes, that's what. Yeah.
What turned it around? That theater.
The theater.
The Theater of the Republic turned that around, and when they
did.
put that downtown, all at once you had the Conway Bistro.
Right.
I think it was called the Conway.
Yeah.
You had the bistro, and then people would go eat, and then go watch the play,
Walk
and then pretty soon
around.
there's another restaurant, and then something happened. Anywhere from 5 to 7 years ago, they created a new foundation. It's not through the chamber. It's something else. It kind of like the chamber is here, and then you have this other organization. I don't know what's called Downtown Redevelop. I don't know what it is. When they came in on the scene, it boomed because you had visionary people. Yet I'm not trying to hurt anyone's feelings here, but you had people who just instead of just keeping a job and trying to control everything, it was visionaries that had a vision to go, this is what this could be.
Right.
And I don't know if you know of the battle that took place in Conway. It was a civil war inside Conway not long ago about who's going to control it. Yeah. And one faction wanted to keep it the same. The other faction wanted to go, hey, no, we keep it the same, but we have this cool boutique city. We have this cool place where we have great restaurants and this and that. And I want to get that person. It's a lady. I want to get her in here and talk to her and say, you could really be a information beacon for a lot of small communities. And it happens. There's a battle that goes on of who's going to control it. And they took off, and I'll tell you, Conway, at Halloween, Christmas,
oh my God.
People go from Myrtle Beach there.
They do.
And
they do.
It's a destination.
When I first moved to Myrtle Beach, I used to love to shop because there were specialty shops. The mall had specialty stores. like any other city, you see the malls and they got the same stores no matter where you go, no matter where you go in the country. Now those malls are disappearing. The smaller boutique shops are coming back. It's just like Market Commons. When they did Market Commons, it's like its own little city down there, but it's got the parks and the lakes and the baseball fields and the theater and the little shops and the live above the shops, and it's become really, really nice over the years. So,
isn't it funny how we went from where we were 200 years ago, little towns, unique shops, to sprawl, to multinational corporations where people are wanting back to the little shop. One of the things that where we were doing the studio is like, I seen this blank canvas, and you try to put your input in of have it be a area that is a cottage industry town, which means it's made here. You have people hand sewing doilies, like much up in Belgium where they make the doilies, and you have a person who creates other furniture, a furniture builder, that, all these crafts in a downtown that you cannot get anywhere else. You can't go to a big box store and get them. It's only here. It's that unique. Restaurants the same way. Made food from scratch, not out of a bucket or out of the freezer, made from scratch. People are dying for that. They're dying for that realness back. Hey, when I put a real eclair or a cream, I get excited even when it's not mine. If someone makes it from scratch, it's like, but that's what I don't want it coming from a big box. I don't. Yeah. It's full of preservatives. It's nasty. All it is sweet and gummy, and it's like it's not good in your.
When I was in Spain recently, when I went over there, one of the islands. I mean, there was not an inch around a house that wasn't a garden or banana trees, or they utilized their land for growing their food, which was just wonderful to see. It was beautiful. And here, we do need more of that. I mean, the corn here is unbelievable. I mean, one of the things I love to take away around to my clients, and I just recently did this, was in Loris, a couple friends of ours in our neighborhood, their sister has a farm out here in Loris, and this is the second year they've done it. They bring in, and the money goes to help the elderly over here in Loris. You just pay whatever you want for the corn. Well, I bought a ton of corn, and then I went to just give a dozen pieces of corn to a lot of my clients, potential buyers and people. But it's fresh corn from the farm. I did the same thing with tomatoes. We had a party in December, invited at Island Vista, invited friends and clients, and I gave local apples. I mean, and it was very much appreciated. This was just something that they don't get every day. It's fresh food from our area here.
It ties you to the community. And the corn that you dropped by.
Oh yeah,
it was so good. It was you bite into it and the juice just flies everywhere. It's like corn should be, right? Loris too is unique because there's a rain belt that comes through here. Okay, it stops about 4 to 8 miles east of the city, where Myrtle Beach may not get the rain, but it rains here.
Okay.
And so I like it, the pressure off the ocean.
Okay.
You have different pressure zones that hold fronts back. Like we're weak fronts, like weak storm fronts. They can be held back a little bit.
Yeah.
And it rains more here. And that's why the farming is richer here than it is the farther you go inland. And the soil changes its complexity too. But still, it's a belt. And if you're going down Red Bluff, it's about 6 to 8 miles around Mount Vernon area.
Right.
That's kind of where the cutoff starts to happen. And then you go all the way into the waterway. And that's where it kind of dissipates. It goes from there, starts to dissipate.
It is. The country out there is beautiful.
Yeah,
I didn't realize that, though.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
By living in Myrtle Beach and then having the studios here, it's kind of like you're in both places, right? You got to go to the beach, and then I get to go out to the country. But the opportunities that exist in these areas that are growing. See, people are coming into Myrtle Beach. Loris is growing because of Myrtle Beach.
Yeah.
Maryland, Northern Virginia grew because of D.C., not because of who Maryland was. If it was just out in the middle of Oklahoma somewhere, it wouldn't grow like it did. It grew because of this center. So Myrtle Beach, and whenever you talk to people in Michigan, Ohio, Pennsylvania, even if they go to Polly's, if they go to North Myrtle Beach, they're going to Myrtle Beach.
They're going, yeah.
It's Myrtle Beach is where they're going, right? Whether it's
Right.
Polly's Island, it's Myrtle Beach.
Yeah.
Like L.A. L.A. is not as big as what people think the city. It's big, but everything's L.A. from here. Oh, I'm going to L.A. Where are you in Glendora? Are you in,
What part?
where are you at? I mean, it's Glendale. Where are you at?
Yeah.
L.A., right? So Myrtle Beach. But it's the push out, the sprawl that's happening. These places have their opportunities to really seat themselves as something extremely unique. And if they understand how much money is in that financially for everybody, you're foolish. Those people are foolish for not taking advantage of that and riding that wave and creating that area to make it, the land values go up. People want to move there. And what is that? It's that uniqueness that we missed as what we grew up with in childhood, what you experienced when you lived in the Outer Banks, that freedom of youth. And the freedom, you weren't under surveillance either.
No.
Right?
No, that was...
I talked to the HTC people out here today. They're hooking up a lot of stuff down the road. And I'm like, I am so glad surveillance wasn't around when I was young. I'd still be in jail. So, but there was a freedom to that. We're hearkening for that. The leaving your doors open. You didn't have the worry of crime.
Yeah.
A community, friendship, someone give you the keys to their business. Hey, watch out over it. I'm going skiing.
Yeah.
And then, hey, I'm going somewhere. Here's the keys to my apartment. Go feed my cat, whatever.
Right.
And we didn't worry.
No, you didn't. You didn't even think twice about it.
These little communities have the ability to rebuild that.
Yeah, they do.
You want to see your property values skyrocket? Create that atmosphere. You want to see businesses flourish? Create that atmosphere and watch what you get.
It'd be nice. It'd be nice for the kids growing. That's... their youth, they have to grow up so fast now. It's just
I'm glad I'm not young anymore.
It's amazing how fast they grow.
I really am. You always think when you get older, I would like to feel like I did when I was 18, the joints and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I'm glad that I'm not young because I'm so glad that I grew up and I got to experience the 70s and 80s.
Well, I think during our age, we have seen so much change so quickly. And that generation will not see any of that. Right. If we had known what the Jetsons were when we watched that back then, right? How that so much of that has come around. The microwave. I remember when they put the food in there and they're going, "Whoa, what is that?" What are they doing?
Did you like the 70s and 80s?
Yes, I did. Yeah.
Would you like to go back to that if you could?
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean. If you knew now what you didn't know then, I mean, of course, that's always hindsight. But not that I would change anything because what's happened has made me who I am today. But direction-wise, a lot would have been different.
But don't you think who you are today comes from your natural evolution as you go through and you run into the bumps and the bruises and the triumphs and the losses that creates the human being that you are as you get older, and used to be called wisdom. And so that creates you even more to me than whether you had a computer or whether you don't. Like whether we're born in the time of computers or whether prior to the computers, cell phones, no cell phones, it's going through. It's you working for hours with people. And then they jump ship, all those things are, although they're not good, they're teaching experiences about human behavior. Yes. And then you find the clients that are really good, and they're waiting for you to give them that drop by their house on their doorstep with the corn and say this came from Loris, and then they make a connection. They bring you something from wherever they're from. If they came from Traverse City, Michigan, they bring you some cherries, something like that. Yeah. It makes those connections even more special. And a community, and the building of a community. A lot of people who come to a retirement area, I grew up out west. People don't realize the West wasn't settled till the 40s or 50s. Really settled.
Yeah.
Now my mother's family went to California in the 1800s. He was my great grandfather was the chief surgeon for the Santa Fe Railroad line. So they went there. Then Oregon and all that, which is where I grew up, wasn't settled till after World War II. It was, but it wasn't. It's kind of like coming to Myrtle Beach in 1930 versus now. It was settled, but it wasn't.
Yeah.
And when you moved there, like people coming here, you didn't have the old family establishment, so you couldn't rely on family. You had to make friends.
Right.
So you've moved 3,000 miles from the Midwest or the East all that way. You've shown up. You have no family. You better get to know your neighbors. You'd better get along with your neighbors because you may need something. They may need something. I found that the friendships and stuff develop deeper because when you have an established family, you can just always jump back into that family pod if you come from a normal family.
Right.
So many families are dysfunctional anymore. They're looking for friends. But they're coming here to Myrtle Beach, and they're coming raw. I don't know if you've seen the movie we had at the film festival, and I don't know the name. Heather, do you remember the name of that movie with the elderly couple that was in with the pool and the birds?
That was a few years ago.
They'd moved to Florida, and it was in the film festival. I don't know if you've seen it. They moved from, I don't know, New Jersey, New York, Pennsylvania, somewhere up northeast, and how great it was going to be to live in Florida. They get down there, and they're, the lanai, the screen covered pools that everybody in Florida has. So they're sitting out there, and a hurricane is approaching. They're in like Orlando, so they're a little ways away from the shore. And while they're sitting there, they're talking about how great it is. They're drinking their margaritas. They got the little cup that looks like the flamingo, and they're sitting there by themselves. And you can tell the filmmaking was excellent because when you tell a story, good stories are never told; they're shown. The eyes. You don't have to tell it. They start talking about, wonder what so-and-so's doing. Wonder what my grandkid's doing. Wonder what... They've moved away from that. So they're no longer in their pod. And at the end, I don't know if... At the end, a hurricane blows in, and there's 2 doves that have died, and they're laying in the skimmer on the outside, just floating, dead. And they were isolated. And so this couple in this 12, 15-minute film went from being all happy, drinking, to sad because the storm's coming. There's no family. There's no friends. They haven't met their neighbors. And I think that's a lot of people experience that. A lot of people move down here with a spouse, and the spouse dies.
Oh, yeah.
And they're here.
Yeah.
And they don't have that base. And that, to me, is just one of your most unique things where you put people together. And
they need to get involved in something, whether it's, go read to a second grade class or, and you find a lot of men do this. They come down, they want to work part-time at the golf course. Yesterday I was at the die course over there. I was going over to give somebody something. And I'm getting out of my car, and the guy's walking over to me. How are you today? I mean, just friendly as he could be. I mean, made my day. Right. And it just, and he's retired. He just, that's what he enjoys doing. I mean, it's little things like that can make such a big difference in someone's life if they just get up and move. Get up and move around, walk, take a walk, meet somebody walking.
Right.
I see people in my neighborhood, and they're walking their dogs in the morning, and it's not just one; it's like quite a few people, and they all have different dogs. Everybody's getting along, and they're walking. Just little things. So I think the thing is they have to take that first step and get up and go do something.
Well, sometimes people are shy.
Oh yeah.
And by having
you
someone
have to invite them.
Having someone like you that just goes over and says, it's like if you moved into you moved when you were a child.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So you had to make friends. You had to learn to adapt. You didn't grow up K to 12 and go through college there. Yeah. You had to learn to adapt in a new school. And same happened with me. He'd put the house up for sale. We'd go get a piece of bare land and start building again. We were back in a tent for 6 months. So while we're building and coming up out of the ground. Yeah, build our own house. But then every 3 years he'd sell, and all once he'd come in, throw a box, put what you want in there, we're going. And he'd build a beautiful home, beautiful barn, farm, then boom, gone. But you had to learn to reinitiate yourself inside of a new school because you didn't grow up, you didn't go start kindergarten there and go all the way through 12. But a lot of people that did do that are shy, especially when they get older. It takes someone like yourself to go, hey, I'm going to take you to dinner over here, and this is a dinner club, or this is what they do here, or they do this, and you introduce them, and once they're introduced, they're on their way.
Well, their stories are everybody has stories that are wonderful. But I could tell you how many times I would call Greg and say, I'm on my way home, but meet me at, I'm leaving the office. How about meeting me at the Ocean Club? I've got so-and-so and so-and-so with me. And he's like, well, you could have given me some notice. That's our thing at our home, because I'm always saying, come with us, or 4th of July, my neighbor's having a get together. Come on. Well, we don't know her. Well, come on and go with me,
Right.
And it's fun for other people.
Were
to
you
see
that kid when you were little that brought people home that your parents didn't know was coming to dinner?
I really didn't.
No, okay.
I didn't know, because both my parents worked. So, I really didn't. Maybe that's what I missed growing up, was that, because my home is open. I always have people in my house. I love to have people in my house. I leave my door open so people come up. If they see my front glass door is open, they just come over. I mean, I love it.
You're a people person.
I enjoy,
You enjoy good community.
Yeah, I do. I enjoy a community. I think there's just not enough of them around these days.
It's the human experience. There's no use in hiding in a cave and just shuddering in fear and hiding from everybody.
Yeah.
It's the human experience of bringing people together. You'd mentioned it before about people with their knowledge coming in. What can be built and developed when you get the right people together. And that's a thrill.
Yeah.
It's a thrill to build something big or to do something beyond your own capacity and join into something bigger.
Things like, Crescent Bank a couple of weeks ago had Chestnut Hill do, they do it every year. They put a tent out there and they've got hot dogs, hamburgers, and coleslaw and iced tea. And everybody's just, of course, their clients come in, but you see people off the road stop and come over. What's going on? And it's just a good feeling to see things like that in our area go on.
Yeah.
Well,
we're a growing community.
Yeah.
We're ever evolving now, especially now. I think that it was always, unless there was a national recession that would stop things like it does everywhere. Myrtle Beach is a place where people are moving to, not moving from. And now that things have deteriorated in other areas pretty heavily,
right,
like the price, crime, whatever,
it
becomes unlivable no matter how good it is, weather-wise or topographical-wise. There's a certain breaking point to where I can't do this no more. They're moving here, and now it's just ever increasing. And so it's up to have proper leaders in these places to make sure that we can build that community instead of something that's not proper.
We have the art district that we've been pushing for quite a few years, and that's in a great plan right now that's going forward. There are things like that we've missed in our city, and we know we're growing, and that's a good thing that we've started doing things that are needed in the community as well. So
art is very needed.
Oh yeah, very. I'm on the board at the Chapin Museum, and I'm just so excited because things are changing downtown, which was our hub of coming into Myrtle Beach. That whole area really needs to be revamped, redone, and it's happening. So
what I miss
take some years
down there is the Flatiron Building.
Oh, I know, right?
I love that building. I always thought when I get old enough, I'm gonna have an office up there. It's cool. I don't know why. Just have an office of what? I don't know.
Because there was another building like that in Myrtle Beach. So,
and I hate that they've torn things like that down.
Yeah.
Because it was so unique. Yeah. So we had, what was it, 3 stories, 4 stories?
Yeah. I don't remember how many stories, but it was just the triangle shape, and it was downtown. It was right there. It was.
And you were here during when they had the Sky Needle too, or the Astro Needle.
The Astro Needle.
Yeah.
I was also here. I remember the gas station when they used to pump your gas. I heard that's coming back. They're actually having people that'll be pumping your gas at some of the gas stations.
In Oregon.
I love that.
In Oregon, you can't pump your own gas.
You can't?
No, it's illegal.
Really?
Every pump, they have to have an attendant because you cannot pump your own gas.
Oh.
I think there's one other state in the United States, I'm not sure, but Oregon still does. So people drive into there all the time. They go to grab the pump and they got to get yelled at. You can't touch that. It's illegal. So
let me do it for you.
But in the old days, you had people come out, wash your windshield. It was a personal service.
Oh yeah.
And I think we've gotten wrapped up into where money became such the driving force instead of community, that because of the push for money all the time, we've lost what actual value is. And the value is that community. It's the how rich were you when you sat up there on at the Outer Banks? How rich were you when you popped that bottle of wine with your friends and had shrimp that you just
How
boiled.
rich was I?
No. How wealthy were
No, I
you?
wanna
You were
tell
super
you
wealthy.
I lived in.
I don't mean this.
Putt golf course. It was a putt.
No, I don't mean wealth like money.
No, I know.
In enrichment, how well you were extremely wealthy.
Oh
You're
my God,
you were wealthier than a multimillionaire who is has no life.
Has no time. Yeah. Well, things have gotten. I mean, to me back then things were expensive because I
Sure.
didn't have the money to do so.
that-
But it was
That's what I meant by
Yeah,
wealth is
yeah.
like the real intrinsic wealth of like
the time,
community.
the time you
And
had
you-
to do. Yeah.
Money comes and goes.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Those
You-
times
you
and
can-
those connections, that's the real stuff.
Oh yeah, definitely, absolutely.
So I got to ask you, I don't think I've ever asked you this in 40 years. What is your favorite movie of all time?
Oh my gosh, my favorite movie. God, I love the movies. You know, I love the
Yeah.
movies. I've always have. Oh my God, I have so many. It just depends on, they're all kind of different.
A couple of them.
Oh my gosh. I like the one. I'm trying to think of the name of it. It's about the desert. It's a true story. Queen of the Desert. Based on a true story. And it's just phenomenal. Only because it's a true story. I liked it. And back in that time, there was this was a woman that traveled over the deserts, which, barely people did at all back then because of you probably wouldn't be able to do it all, and stay alive. But Queen of the Desert.
Is this like ancient time? What
No,
is this
I
a
would say
classic film or
1900s, early 1900s when it
that's
took
when the
place.
film's depicted?
Takes place. Yeah.
When was the film made?
Maybe 4 years ago.
Recent.
Yeah.
Okay, I haven't seen that.
Queen
of the
I'd
Desert.
have to look back and see what year it was. But that's one of them, I would say one that has stuck with me that I've really enjoyed. There's just, I have different categories that I like, whether it be comedy, but I tend to like true stories or, some books that have, I love series. I really, since Netflix came around, I'm sorry, I just really do because I can, and I could stay up all night and watch a whole, series because I just like.
You started
There's
watching
a lot of them.
Yellowstone.
Yellowstone.
And you like that? I remember we talked about that a little bit.
Yellowstone. I did. I like Yellowstone.
There's a lot of psychology in that
Yeah.
series.
And that's another thing is, part of history in a sense, and the scenic view of what, and just the whole line of the story. I mean, protecting your land.
Mm-hmm.
Protecting your land, and
it's kind of like it's we're not much different than the animal kingdom. There's territories out in the woods, and bears have certain territories, and then there's always new bears trying to come in and take that territory, and eventually,
true.
one bear will
true.
take another one will take the
Yeah.
territory. Eventually, it's like no matter how powerful of a lion you have been, you're eventually going to succumb to what you've done, which is take someone else out, take another animal out in order to gain that kingdom. And so the story of the animal kingdom, the story of the human condition is much the same as in Yellowstone.
Yeah.
They acquired this land back in the 1800s, and then the fight to keep it. And then it also involves greed, corruption.
Cost to keep it.
Yeah, all
Yeah.
this stuff.
Oh my goodness.
And
yeah.
that's the human experience. To me, that's what makes a great film.
Mm-hmm.
Is a great film is not people sitting around having a pleasant conversation. It involves conflict. Because in our lives, we go through conflict.
Oh,
and it's how we
absolutely.
resolve that conflict. And I think we look to the movies sometimes to see how conflict is resolved for people who grew up without proper
Yeah.
parenting. They look to the movies. They look to entertainment. How was this resolved? Well, in the old days, you had John Wayne. He would resolve the issue, right? With a gun or his fist, he would resolve the issue. Much like in Yellowstone, it comes
Yeah.
down to force
Yeah.
and territory. And when you think about expansion, we've got expansion going on right here in Horry County.
Mm-hmm.
Who controls it? And doesn't it go back to, hey, I brought up these little towns. I've seen so many little towns in areas, not just here, but in other areas, destroyed because of the wrong mentality. And it's,
if they don't, and that's one thing that scares me in Myrtle Beach. I mean, you see so much growth so fast. One, our roads can't handle this. What are we going to do about it? What is happening about it? Neighborhoods, who's really, it used to be you built around the trees that were already there.
Yes.
Now they clear the whole lot. They put new, landscape. Okay, I understand all that, but it's just the planning and sticking to the plan that and that should happen and to keep the area
working in harmony with nature to a certain point.
Absolutely.
I know we're
Absolutely.
going to take a certain footprint, but don't. When
Yeah.
these developments come in and clear cut, I've got a massive problem with that. And they don't seem to be able to figure out what's causing some of the flooding around here in areas.
Oh
I can
my
tell you exactly
gosh.
what it is. It's clear cutting.
Yeah.
When you clear cut everything, those trees consume
A lot of
hell of a
water.
lot of water. A big pine tree can
Absolutely.
consume 300 gallons of water.
Yeah,
Well, that's only one pine tree. Yeah, cut down 100,000 of them.
right.
And now you wonder why you got issues with flooding. Oh, it's the ocean levels rising. No, it's not. No, it is not, because when I was at Harlech in Wales, it's a castle. The sea level used to be up to the seawalls. Now it's out maybe a quarter of a mile. So the ocean level goes up and down through time
Constantly,
periods,
yeah.
right? The ocean level, I've been living here since 84. I moved back out west in 87, 88, came back in 89. It hasn't really changed.
Right.
The flooding around these rivers
Oh, yeah,
have,
yeah.
and it happened at the same time period that all this clear cutting started. When I built my house, I left all the trees that I could.
Right.
The big old trees, I
Yeah.
left them. Same with like when I cleared the lot next to I left the big trees. Why? What provides shade? But it needs to be in there for the soil to have proper compaction, or what do you call it? For erosion values. You have the root system and all that helps
Right.
with the erosion. You cannot clear cut 400 acres and then 400 acres and 400 acres and 400 acres and then wonder where.
Where's
And now
the
you've
water?
put pads everywhere.
Yeah.
So the absorption into it needs to be better. What's happening is the money's being made. They're going to figure this out in another 10 years. Then the people who come in to develop at that point, now they're going to pay a price, but you can say that the people in it first should have had a little bit more care and compassion for what's going on around the road. Maybe not be quite as greedy. Instead of putting 400 homes, maybe put 250 homes
right.
and put a park in there, leave the trees. It adds to the community. It's that goes back to greed, doesn't it? And greed can actually destroy things. And so you get a little bit of fake money,
Yeah.
get some Federal Reserve notes, and now the place floods. And I keep a keen eye on it every time we have rain, of what pools and where it doesn't.
Yeah.
And there's old neighborhoods that are sometimes just the yard, just a little bit, a massive rain, a hurricane rain. But still, there's a little bit of pooling that didn't use. That's all the trees missing.
Yeah.
So if I could tell anything to the development, stop with the clear cutting, complete clear cutting of lots, and saying, well, we're going to put in some new trees. Not the same.
It's not the same.
And we're going to put in a retention pond. Not the same.
Yeah.
Develop the land strategically, develop with thought, with forethought down the road. And some of these developments, looking at it from a building perspective side, and sooner or later we might have an inspector on here with us too,
Yeah.
who's one of the head inspectors for the state,
Yeah, that
which
would be nice.
he came to inspect one of the studios that we're building. And of course they have to have this persona of like tough, because you're coming into buildings. A lot of people try to get by with things. Oh, I'll be your buddy.
Yeah.
We do. And he's not like that. He's very by the book. And Heather had said somewhere, she said, most builders want to get away from building inspectors. He comes and helps me now. He helped at night. He comes in and he works with me. You want to strive for perfection, but he said he come in and he goes, what are you building here? A hotel? Like, with all that, you're using big, huge sewer pipes, solid core, which is super expensive, laying it out with a transit, doing this, doing that. They require 5 inches of concrete. You put in 9. You put in, instead of number 4, you put in number 6 rebar. All this stuff. The homes that are not all of them. A lot of the homes that I see going up are going to be tore down in the next 40 years, 30, and they're going to get wicking. They're going to get and wicking is a geological issue, to where if you build on ground that has high water table, Okay, and you build it on a pad, a concrete pad. That water, here's an experiment to do. Take and fill up your sink with water and keep it about that far from the top, from overflowing. Take a towel and stick in there, and then hang it out over the side and down below this level. Wake up the next day and see what's happened. You got a pool of water on the floor where it's wicked up and down. It's hydraulic pressure, or it's hydraulic. And you also have hydraulic pressure when you're adding more weight and bringing, it doesn't sound like it should happen, but it does. Wicking that's going up into these walls. And then they've sealed, used to be homes that were built in the 40s, 50s, and 60s, up until the 70s. They were built loose. Now, when I say loose, I don't mean loose like they're going to shimmy.
So that the wind
breathe.
Yeah.
So a lot of the old plaster homes that you come across in Myrtle Beach and built in the 50s.
Yeah.
If you want to know, from my opinion, from when I still have my GC license, I do my own stuff. Someone that is a great friend, like if you ask me to come and help, I'm going to come help you.
Yeah.
But watching, it's well, you want the best home? Buy one that was built in the 50s. Now, you might have to rewire it. You might have to replumb it. But you've got a home that's built with 200-year-old lumber, old-growth lumber compared to new growth.
There is no comparison.
No, it's like taking pressed wood and treated wood and dipping it in water and then coming back a week and pull it out and see what you got.
Yeah.
Old-growth wood, it was matured for 100 to 150 years before they cut it. This was in the 50s. So if you bought a house in the 50s, which is now 74 years old, you're getting 220-year-old wood. That's from the time it started, almost the beginning of this country, okay? You look at the grain of the wood, the old southern yellow pine, and try to drive a nail through southern yellow pine that's 90 years old. You might as well try to drive it through steel.
Yeah.
The 1x6, true dimensional 1x6 clapboard or sheathing, what is now where the sheathing is, but it was plaster. Yes, there was a lack of insulation, but it breathed. There was no mold in these homes.
Right.
You build a home that's so tight and you don't understand thermodynamics, you're going to have mold in those walls.
In the walls, yeah.
Because it cannot breathe. When it gets here,
especially here with all the humidity
it's humid.
That we get. Yeah.
You wake up and your house is dripping 5 months out of the year. It's dripping. Well, did it rain? No, it's just humidity. It's condensation. Well, you got to think about the transfer rate of that. That's transferring through a wall because it's sticky. And just take a piece of plastic, lay it on your countertop, lay it on some wood or something like that. Get a raw piece of wood, lay some plastic down, put some water on it. Well, it's protected. It can't leak. Pull it up after 2 days and see if there isn't a ring of moisture because of condensation. That's what happens when people who build that don't understand the thermodynamics of a building, they're going to get this in the walls. Now you got mold. I'm not going to name it, but I can tell you one neighborhood there's going to be a massive lawsuit because I watched how they built it.
You know, as a realtor, we always encourage and almost demand that you get a home inspection done when you buy a house, or have, even better, an engineer to come out and look at this house. You know, and for the money you're spending on something you've saved so long to buy, because once we know if there's an issue, we can address fixing it, or whether you really should buy it or not. And there's so many people inspectors that just, like you said, they just don't have that really experience, or the realtors don't have the experience to lead their clients the right way. So inspections are very important, especially in today's time. And the new builders that are the massive builders, the problem I see right now is that they're buying up so much of the land. There's not enough land for the custom builders to be able to do the custom and the quality work that a lot of people would like to have.
Yeah.
And a lot of those, or these mutual fund companies, are coming in and buying massive stuff, and they want them built within 5 years. So, they just want them up and gone, and their money, and they're out. Where our local custom builders that have been doing it for 50 years, 60 years, or their father did it, and now they're doing it. They don't have a chance because they can't, they're pushed out by the large companies, the big money.
The big money comes in and buys it all up.
Yeah, yeah.
And
that's unfortunately, and the cost too, I'm sure has a lot to do with building a custom home and doing it like you would do it versus what they're buying from the larger, massive people, even though the quality's not there. It's the price that they could afford. So, it's a hard juggle, but
right. Well, the inspector that I was talking about is not a home inspector that comes in and does inspections for like real estate buying. I'm talking about he inspects coliseums. For the state. He inspects coliseums. He inspects hotels.
That would be everybody's goal to have somebody like that come in and be able to inspect stuff.
And I've always thought that the inspectors, I've met some inspectors that inspect, not building inspectors that work for the state. I'm talking about inspectors that come in and do an inspection for real estate.
Right.
A lot of them don't know their head from a hole in the ground when it comes to a building. They're looking at some stupid facade thing when there's a structural problem right over here because of the crack in the wall, because of this, because of that, and they ignore that because they've been told to look at A, B, and C. They were an insurance broker.
They have a form they have to fill out online, and that's what they got to check or not check.
But they don't know the end. They could not build a house from scratch if they had to, and that's the person you want.
Absolutely.
The person who can take and build a home from the ground up, out of the ground, and take it to completion, that's the person you want inspecting your house when you come to buy one, because they know it's kind of like a surgeon. A surgeon knows what's going on. If you have blockage in an artery, that heart surgeon, they know what's going on, and they know how to fix it. Not the person who wrote the diagram or the graphic artist who did the diagram in the book about it.
Right.
And it's, you're talking about a major investment too.
Yeah.
When it comes to home buying, major investment. That's why, I am a huge fan, I am, of old neighborhoods. A lot of the great ground was used, especially the wealthy neighborhoods. But these homes, when I first came across Heather, she has a house built in 1950. She's like, oh my God, my house is falling apart. It's just awful. I don't know what to do. And I looked at it and I'm like, who told you that? Well, so-and-so, they're no idea about building. They said, I've got asbestos on the outside. It's going to cost. I said, who told you have asbestos? This is cedar redwood shingles.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Redwood. From the 1950s. It's redwood. The termites aren't not going to eat this. And they said, yeah, that's why it wasn't eaten. I said, no. And I took my knife and just shaved. I said, does that look like asbestos? Well, why would they tell me that? Because
they don't know. They don't know the difference.
They don't know. And so we stripped all the old side and took it back to that. And we turned it and painted it really beautiful, dark gray. I went under her house. I said, you've got the best built house on this street. This will out in a storm, even though it has no straps. This will take a heavier wind load than the new homes that were just built.
Wow.
But why? It was here through Hazel.
Oh my gosh.
It was here through, and the lumber that they used. When you go to pry a board apart, I redid one of her rooms, cathedral ceilings and all that. But when you go to pull a board off one of it takes more force to pull the two structural members apart than with hurricane straps.
Wow.
Because it was put in with 20-inch or 20-gauge spikes, driven in. That old yellow pine has dried around that and made it like a glue, like a epoxy.
Solid. Yeah.
And it is so solid. But when I said, you have the house of dreams on this street, not the house of nightmare. What it was a piece of aluminum soffit had came off, which we removed all and put it all back to original anyway. But it was dangling. It was like, I can fix that in like 3 minutes. But I said, this house is probably the best because it's the oldest.
Yeah, and I think people get so wrapped up in it's not the new style on the inside. But I go into so many houses where tile was done in the 60s, and I mean, the handlebar, the toilet holder, the towel rack, there's not a crack in that tile anywhere. Even the grout is not dirty. You know what I mean? It's amazing. Or the old floors on the sunroom, which were the pieces of red clay tile, you know, and the terracotta. I mean, there's some beautiful stuff out there. I mean, I think, and there's so many ways interior decorators could work around that stuff to make maybe the furniture look different or the paint on the walls, but to keep some of that, because it doesn't need replacing.
You're really good at that. You got an eye for you got an eye for that, and I could see you if you weren't. It's part of real estate, but if you weren't as being an interior designer, I could see you being that. You're talking about this old tile from the 50s.
Yes.
The retro tile, the Art Deco tile. Go try to have it put in.
Oh,
See if you can get it, and then find the people that can do it properly. It's on lath-backed concrete.
Right. Yeah.
And you can't get you can't find the labor people to do this anymore.
No, you can't find the labor.
And like you said, it's not. You've got a home that's 75 years old. You get a brand new home. 1 year, the tile's cracked.
Tile's cracked. A lot of it is.
And that should tell you right there, boy, this house is built differently than this house.
Yeah.
And that old tile, that old Art Deco tile, you throw in some.
It just you never see it cracked. It's just I remember when the market crashed and real estate was slow, but that's when you could the Sun News was still around. You could put some ads in there, and I put an ad in there saying that I would, basically come, take a look at your house and maybe all you need is to freshen up is to rearrange stuff.
Yes.
And I stayed so busy, just going to people's homes that, market had crashed. They didn't have the money to fix up stuff, but you're feeling like you just need something to lift you up a little or something. And I would go in there and it's amazing how you could just move some stuff around and it looks different.
Yes.
And, I would charge very minimal to do it. Made a lot of great contacts. Years later, they came back when they wanted to move or whatever, call me, list their house, buy a new house. But I had so much fun doing it because, they just little things that you're used to seeing every day that, they would get tired of. And also, I didn't see it every day. They lived in it. And just to move a few things around made a big difference, and same thing with, those people that have that tile in a older home. And all you have to do is freshen it up with colored tiles or paint on the wall or wallpaper or something. So, yeah.
And now you're focusing on the essence and beauty of the tile.
Right. Instead of wanting to get rid of it.
Taking it out and putting up cheap stuff that's made in China.
Right.
Some porcelain tile that's made in China that isn't worth a damn. And you've removed this beautiful tile that you can't get anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's the new trends that happen. It was one of the things that I did like about the Los Angeles area. Different neighborhoods. Every home that was built, they were very unique.
Mid-century
modern and back.
Yeah.
And even the new ones that are being developed, they have very good interior designers.
Yeah.
They're different. It's not all the same. The same neighborhood. You go in and it's the same couch, the same wall, the same this, the same. It's like this is boring to me. I like uniqueness. They're building a new home down on Ocean Boulevard. Got like 30. I'm looking forward to. I get disappointed because I see the pad go in.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, it's going to be cool. It's oceanfront. This is it's like a movie.
It's like
this. You're building a movie. This has got to be epic.
Yeah.
And then you go, oh God, you did this, and it's like, it looks like out of a track out of New Jersey or something. It's like, come on, you're oceanfront. This is the only lot like this. To stand out.
Stunning.
When you drive through Bel Air, you drive through you drive through the Sunset Hills. You see stunning properties, and every one of them is different. One might be Japanese theme. One might be Mexican theme or South American theme. One might be a Tudor from England, and it's all just right. And they have the ability to take, like you do. You take a room, you can put in $1,000, $2,000 worth of new furniture in this room, a new paint scheme, a mirror here and there. It's a whole completely different place.
Different.
But that is a talent that you see.
Yeah.
When I build, I always see what I'm going to build before I've built it. Like there's something flat. I've already seen it in my mind. If I make a movie, I've already made the movie in my mind. I've already seen it. I just have to make it happen.
You have to put it together.
Yeah. And I was always shocked because when I was a kid, I always thought, well, everybody has this.
Right.
And you're surprised that it's like most people don't. It's like, can't you see this? This is what it's going to be. We're doing up in top of Studio 2 and Building 2, that big house that sits, or it's I don't know what do you call a living quarters above commercial property in a town? What do you call it? I'm asking you as a realtor.
It's a work and live, type of.
It's not a loft. here.
No, it's just like a little
not a condo.
Townhouse condo, because you have commercial on the bottom and
Right.
and house and a townhouse usually on the top, or condo.
So we got this almost 2,000 square foot place, right?
Yeah.
And the hallway, I don't know if you remember it, probably don't remember it, but the hallway, I'm making it into a 1940s French hallway. Heather and I, we created our own glue lambs, which is laminating a bunch of wood and then cutting a dome, and those will go up. So it's going to be a domed ceiling with a reverse form mold, reverse form crown that I'll make, with lights behind it to go up into the dome, and then an old chandelier up in the middle. So it'd be a domed ceiling, and then black panels on the bottom with a crisscross black and white floor painted in the old hardwood, and then Art Deco sconces at the end. I thought it'd be cool for shooting.
Yeah.
And it's part going to be a shooting area for scenes, but then also like models or whatever that can be. It's just a really cool look.
You could use for a lot of your
I don't
different things.
understand people who want the same thing as their neighbors. It's all these look just identical.
They just don't know that. They don't know. Some people just like, it's not their knack. They don't know how to do it. Sometimes they don't want to ask if somebody will help them do it because they're embarrassed. They think they don't know how to do it.
Right.
That sort of thing. Some people realize it and go, I got to hire somebody to do this because I'm terrible at it. You know? And I really want something comfortable or whatever. But, and that's, again, getting to know who they are because they have different wants. If, they have a dog.
And some people don't want to stand out.
No, if they have a dog, they want something that's like in their house or their furniture to be able to, their dog won't ruin, or their dog can sit up on the couch, or, that sort of thing. But, it's.
Are you finding more and more people are animal lovers?
Oh my gosh. I have never in my life, people buy a home based on their animals.
Whether the dog likes it or not?
For my dog needs a bigger yard. I need a room in here for my dog. Everything is, and I can see, it's amazing how many things are based on their animals. It's
I've watched this, and I've always loved animals. I've always loved dogs and stuff, but there's an increase in it.
A big increase.
And I think that I have a thought about that. I don't know whether it's correct or not, but in society in general, people aren't getting friendlier. They're getting more insular or more divisive. And you're looking for something that will love you unconditionally and never turn on you.
Yeah.
I see a lot of men who have worked hard jobs. You can tell by the hands, the way they stand and this and that, they've worked hard jobs. So we go from my house right to the beach and then drive that oceanfront section where you can drive on the beach.
Oh, yeah.
In front of like the old ocean forest area. I see so many men with little dogs, like little Shih Tzus and things like that. And these are men who would have usually German Shepherds or Doberman Pit, something like that.
Yeah.
But they're in their 60s, 70s.
Yeah.
And they're just cradling it like a little baby, right?
Yeah, right.
And we've seen a drastic increase over like the last. I'm a huge watcher of human behavior.
Yeah.
Right? Like I go to me, the human world's like the zoo. I go and I just watch, But I've seen them and they're carrying them, they're holding them. They've got little towels for them, and these are like men who we'd been considered to be rough men back, hardworking men.
Yeah.
I think that, in my opinion, people have turned to animals more because they've been mistreated by humans. And so you can pour your love into this little thing that just looks at you with just undying love. It loves you tremendously, and it's not going to turn on you.
That's a lot of truth to that, I think.
And a lot of in our society, we've children used to be there was more cohesiveness between a whole family, and today it's a lot of, I don't know how to put it nicely, but it's very individualistic. Children don't get along with the parents in a lot of relationships.
No, the parents aren't around. They're working, or they've got their own agenda, and the kids are left to figure it out, and it's not good. But
the dog's the replacement for the family. So it's becomes their family.
Yeah.
And we watch shows online of people with little dogs.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's one called Mike the Shih Tzu. It's an older guy who had got this little Shih Tzu as it's a service animal. And so he was attacked in his house or something, someone with a hammer or something like that. And so he fought the person off, but still took some lumps to the head with a hammer. Awful thing, right? But he got this little dog as a service dog. I don't know any much more than that about it. But so he got this little dog, and he takes it everywhere. Now people are sending this dog gifts like goggles for the bike and this. But I find we watch this and we look forward to seeing what Mike's doing. So the first thing on the computer is like at breakfast, we say, what did Mike do this morning? And so Mike went down to get some coffee, and he went down to get the donuts, or he went on a bike ride already. So it's it used to be what was in the news, what's happening, Are we going to war with Russia? I don't know. Right. What's Mike doing?
Yeah.
So it's a release. It's a safe space for people who want to have a relationship with something where they will not get hurt. And to me, I'd have to have Jordan Peterson on to define if what I'm even talking about is correct or even in the ballpark. But they're looking for something that they can dump their entire heart into, that they won't get it chopped up, and it's going to love them back.
A comfort as well. I think a lot of people are looking. That's interesting.
But that's my take on why all these men are getting like these little tiny dogs. But Mike the Shih Tzu. I mean, I'm gonna plug Mike the Shih Tzu.
Now I'm going to have to watch that.
Yeah, and he comes on like 2 or 3 times a day, and you just get to see what Mike's doing. And this guy, he puts Mike up on a table, and he starts talking to Mike. He goes, Mike, we're going to go to the store today. Now, you're going to have to stay with Mom. And you can see the dog's eyes drop. But it's better than a reality show. Well, better than a scripted show to me.
Right.
Because it's reality. It's
reality.
Real. And
people do talk to their animals.
Oh, absolutely. I did. And I talked to him in different voices. My cat had a voice, and my German Shepherd had a voice, and then the Shih Tzu had a voice. It's all, the German Shepherd had a German accent, and the cat had a Russian accent. It was a Norwegian forest cat with the green eyes. So I gave it all accents. It's like its own movie, but it's
so great.
But you can rely, those animals are waiting on you to come home.
Well, I keep thinking I want one, but I want one when I'd like to get a dog when I retire, because then I would have time for the animal.
That's going to happen soon, isn't it?
My kid, I had 3 daughters, and they all, 2 of them really didn't like animals at all, including my husband. But Sarah, my youngest one, she brought home animals all the time. She had a dog for a couple of days. I didn't even know about it. She kept it in the closet. But she had the turtles and the ducks, and we had to take, we kept taking these things to the farm. A friend's farm, but to this day she still owns dogs and she loves them. The other 2 really don't care about them, but and I think that's why I had them so long when the kids were there. I want to wait till I retire, and then I could just have fun with this animal.
We want to get another couple animals,
and
I'm going to do the same thing again. I want to get a German Shepherd puppy, and then a Norwegian forest cat. And then the dog, when the shepherd's about 2, it helps to train that Norwegian forest. I don't know. Maybe that's how it worked, but the cat ended up being I like cats, but I'm not a huge cat person. But I love this cat. It was different.
Yeah.
And it was extremely different. And then as I've watched or read about these cats, the Norwegian forest cat's very different than the Maine Coon and all these others. They get in the shower with you, all kinds of stuff.
Really?
Yeah, they walk in there, they'll play in the water. They're just a different kind of cat.
Yeah, our cat always hid.
Yeah,
We had one.
But I'm like you. It's like, and Heather will keep saying, it's time. We got to get. I said, I would feel guilty because we're working too much.
And plus, it's
a responsibility. It's like having a child
for the next 15, 17 years.
Yes.
For a dog. So it is. And I think I wish a lot of people would.
So here's a business.
Educate their kids before they just go get an animal, and then
Here's a business for someone. You rent a dog.
Well,
you get to go over and sit for $5 and pet the dog and play with the dog for an hour, and then you leave.
Yeah.
And then you come back a week later and you come over and play with the dog, and the dog remembers you. We remember a lot of places by the dogs they have.
Oh yeah, of course.
There's a health food market that has a border collie named Sadie. I go in there to see that border collie. I go in to see that dog because you got a connection. Whatever it comes up when I come in, Sadie, it'll come up and you pet it for a while.
Yeah.
There is a stress relief with an animal.
Oh, absolutely. I think it's therapeutic, definitely, especially, that when they take these dogs to elderly homes. It's a known fact that it's really been a good therapy for them. Connection and petting and love and, companionship when they don't have it.
So you've seen a big increase in people
that
are actually buying homes for their dogs.
Absolutely. It's amazing. I mean, you could understand. Okay, and I'll ask them, "Do you have pets?" Because I know then you definitely need a yard, right? Of some sort, or because it might make a difference if you want to live in a high rise. You don't want to go down 12 floors to go outside to the piece of grass and then come back up before 7 a.m. In the morning or whatever. And you get a lot of people that explain that to you. So, but yeah, it's a large difference. Large difference. Hurricane season, I get the calls. Where do we take our animal if the weather gets bad? I mean, it's amazing that I sold homes to, and then they're calling and asking that question. What do we do with our animals? Where do we take them? Or if they're coming here, we're coming down, we want to look at property, but we're going to bring our little dog. Do you know of a hotel that'll let us stay there with the dog? I mean, yeah, I have my list. Fairfield Inn down here in North Myrtle. You've got your little list of things you can tell them where they could take them.
People don't realize that when they move here from another area that hasn't had hurricanes, when you get an evacuation order, and you decide to leave, I think in this state you can still stay, but they can cut the power off. They can get all that. I think. Well,
it's like they might go. Let's go to the high school. That's where they're going. Well, guess what? You can't take your dog there.
Right, and that's
so they don't.
You have to make prior plans of what you're going to do if this happens. Where you're going to keep the animal. I think it was Hugo, if I'm not mistaken, where they blocked the bridges off the National Guard. So people left. And they were trying to come back in, and they were letting the first 5 to 10 hours they let in the next day, and then the National Guard blocked the bridges. Then people started to walk, and then they stopped that. Yeah. And it was one of the biggest mistakes because when they blocked people out of their homes for 3 days, their animals were in there. There could have been looting, all these things that could have happened. They got so perturbed that the next hurricane came, they didn't leave. And so it was a disaster. What happened was the sightseers came in. I remember them. The people who shouldn't have been here, driving around while people are cleaning up their debris, cleaning up the yards, cleaning up, trying to make repairs or whatever. They shouldn't have been here. But if you have a driver's license that comes here or you have proof of ownership, you should be allowed in.
You should be able to be in.
Unless it's a complete...
Right. Yeah.
Like Andrew was in South Florida, where it just wiped everything down to the ground. But hurricanes, I would tell people that. I remember... I was putting a third floor when I was working. When I had my construction business going, I was putting a third floor on a house down by the ocean, and I remember some people moved in there from Pennsylvania, and a hurricane was coming. It might have been Floyd, and Floyd was the one that dumped 21 inches of rain. Yeah, but it was supposed to be hit at 155 mile an hour winds for 10 hours sustained, which means almost nothing. Even bank vaults are going to have a little bit of a problem at that because there's tornadoes inside there. But 150 mile an hour sustained, there's not too many structures going to withstand that for too long. There will happen to be what they call a moment, and it starts to shake, and it's a residency that starts to go, and then everything starts to go. And another thing, just as a insight on hurricanes, people always say my roof is going to blow in. It doesn't blow in; it blows off. Think of an airplane wing. An airplane wing is designed like this. It's flat on the bottom and domed on the top. And some people think that airplane wings are like this. And when they take off, the air goes. No, a plane wouldn't move very far. So they're flat, and this dome on top creates low pressure underneath, which creates lift. So the wing is actually being moved up. It's got so much lift underneath it. Look at the wing of an airplane, like a 727, 37, 47. It's big, but it's not near as big as your roof.
Right.
An airplane takes off at 160 to 170 miles an hour. It lifts the fuselage, massively heavy, that little wing compared to the fuselage and weight. Your roof getting 130 mile an hour wind is wanting to take that house and make it fly. And when you hear the creaking and groaning that starts at that point, it's that roof trying to come off. Not blown in, come off. Mm-hmm. And I remember I was putting this on. We had to strap everything down because it was a store. We got it all tightened up. But the neighbors had moved here from Pennsylvania. We've been through tornadoes before. We know what it's like. It's like you have no idea. You have no idea. You're literally, they were 100, 200 feet from the ocean. You're going to take a hell of a brunt on this thing. And if it's 150 mile an hour winds, it's not somewhere, and you can't get up in the middle of it and leave.
No.
Oh, I've had enough. I'm leaving. No, you're not. You're stuck wherever you're at. Yeah. And when things start blowing in, there is no 911 that's coming to get you. Mm-mm. Everything's shut down. And a tornado comes through and leaves. Awful destruction in its path. But if you're not in its path, you've experienced some wind, nothing like a hurricane.
Mm-hmm.
You get in the middle of those storms, you can't make the decision to leave. You're done. You're stuck. So you really have to gauge whether you go or stay. Yeah. I think that a lot of homes should be built out of solid form-poured concrete on the beach. And I'm shocked that when I see a home that's being built for like $6, $7, $8 million and it's wood construction on the ocean front. It's like, no. 12-inch form-poured concrete like they build a hotel. That thing won't, it's not going to move at 140 mile an hour winds. It's not moving. You might have flooding, but you'll build it up. It'd be a hell of a storm surge to get up past the first floor. But if they were built that way, I think there was one in Florida years ago. You remember the whole town was wiped out and there was one house standing untouched almost.
It was concrete.
Built properly.
Yeah.
Built properly.
Yeah.
So, well, it's been good.
It has been nice.
And we'll
I've enjoyed it.
You'll have to get back in here and we'll have to talk a lot more about real estate in the Carolinas.
Yeah, I'll give you an update on what's going on. August 17th is when really all the laws come changing. So,
and if anyone's looking to move here, then contact Shelyn Lee if you're lucky enough to get a hold of her.
Oh, absolutely, you can always get a hold of me.
I don't know. I think you want that, but you're in high demand, and you don't want to stretch yourself too thin. But that's why I say is lucky enough to get you
the same phone number, same cell phone number since I first had a cell phone.
And you always respond.
Always.
Which is rare.
Well,
so if you're looking to come here,
it's respectful. You cared enough to call me, I'm going to call you back, or I'm going to answer my phone.
Get in before she's booked. I'll just put it that way. Get in before she's booked, because you can only do so much.
Yeah, that's
Thanks for coming.
Yeah, thank you. It's good to talk to you, Jerry.